Good morning. Good morning. Hey there, Kenya. How's it going? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning. So, this will be, I'm excited to talk about this because if you are either an existing consultant and you're wondering, hey, why am I not able to attract clients? And you are just trying to figure out how you can position your company. Thought leadership is definitely one of the ways you can go about doing that. So I'm going to jump in there. I have some information to share with you guys on why thought leadership and of course, how it can benefit your company and actually even make you a better consultant. So we're going to jump right into this right now. Let me go ahead and fix my screen here so I can make sure that I make sure that I can share this information that I have ready for you all. So first of all, you're going to need to stand out in your consulting business, right? You can't be timid. You can't be like every other consultant. You can't hide behind your website or your social media because it's not one of those situations where if you build it, they will come. You actually have to position yourself. You have to put yourself out there, and you have to be willing to, maybe share your thoughts, share ideas, not necessarily express yourself, but share thoughts and ideas that may be different than the norm, what everyone else believes about a particular area. So if you have a consulting business in IT, healthcare, education, and God forbid, the very packed space of business consulting, you need to stand out as a thought leader, and that's a non-negotiable. So we're going to go ahead and dig in. But before you do, what for those of you who are going to be watching this, after the live, definitely press the subscribe button and the notification bell because I'll be doing this live every week, and I want to make sure that you can join me live and not necessarily participate. Have to watch it after it's been recorded. And I want to make sure that you can actually ask me questions while I'm here. So let's go ahead and use this example that I thought about as I was preparing for this live, right? So say you have an IT consulting business, right? Now we know there are quite a few IT consultants out there, but maybe you have an IT consulting business, and as the leader of your company, you have a unique position about how physicians and doctors, physicians, doctors can position their practices to have like the best cybersecurity in place because as you all know, doctors have to have top-notch cybersecurity because there's the HIPAA law, and they have a lot of medical records now are all electronic, and so in order to protect their patient data, doctors offices, dentists, and all these other medical professionals have to make sure that they have the top secure cybersecurity in place. Now, that as an IT consultant that focuses on doctors and other medical practices, you are able, because you're working with a number of them, you're over time able to notice some trends. You maybe solve the same problem over and over for these doctors, and you know that there's a specific way that your business can has been able to help all of them, and that the solution is sustainable. That's something that's really important about being a thought leader as a consultant. Whatever it is whatever unique approach or idea that you have, it can't be something that, at least in my opinion, right? It can't be something that you notice and you maybe share your thoughts about it, but it doesn't really have legs. It can't really be a sustaining idea over time. And I'm going to give you an idea or an example of why I say that using my consulting firm. But you, my friend, if you've noticed these trends, solve the same problem, there's a specific way your business can help them, and the solution is sustainable, and you definitely have identified a unique solution, and you think this is something all of your clients and future clients should know about. As a matter of fact, you think this is something not just clients should know about, but maybe your whole industry should be aware of this. But obviously, as you are thinking and understanding, and all of this is kind of gelling, right? It took me some time to gel some ideas that I have, and now I have a unique approach to the way that we approach some of our clients, specifically our grant management clients. Now, do you lay out the specifics of what you know? No, absolutely not, because why would they hire you? You develop a way of communicating consistently and over time about this innovative or unique approach. And over time, people will start to get to know you as the IT consultant who can easily solve cybersecurity challenges for doctors and dentists. And there are a whole, just a whole. I always talk about, does it have legs, right? There are whole ways, a number of ways that your being that person can have legs. There are a number of opportunities that sometimes come to you because you become known as that person. So I'm going to use my company as an example, but I just want to make sure that use a completely different consulting field because, I've thought about, of course, using something that I think we can all understand, and so that's why I decided to go ahead and start with IT consulting rather than starting with my business, because I can talk about my business, the work that we do easily, but I wanted to, kind of make sure that, the work that I do isn't something that a lot of people are familiar with. So it's best to go ahead and start with IT. We all know about IT. Now, before you know it, like I said, people start knowing you as the IT consultant that specializes in this thing and communicates about it consistently. So those are the things to remember. I do want to make sure that we remember these three things: consistency, a unique perspective, and communication, right? To me, those are the bedrocks of thought leadership. As a matter of fact, of course, as I was preparing, I'm not just going based off of the things that I do. Of course, I want to verify what thought leadership is. I, looked at a number of different websites to make sure, is my understanding based on what I've done, is that in alignment with what others have said about thought leadership and the things that I've seen happen in my business, and whether or not this is something, again, that is to be expected, or is the norm, or is a strategic approach. Just wanted to, so of course I was able to verify that. So just wanted to make sure you all know that these aren't just my thoughts, my ideas. These are things that I did intentionally. And it has certainly helped my business grow very, very quickly. And I just started the business in January of 2020. I always say, yes, started the business in January 2020. In other words, that's when I signed the papers, did what I needed to do to make my business legit in the state where I operate. But I didn't actually sign my first client until May of 2020. We know what was happening in 2020. A lot of things were going screwy in 2020. And so I started my business probably one of the most interesting times of all of our lives. And but yeah, signed my first client in May 2020, and then signed my next client in September of 2020. So I want to make sure that we are all clear about the timeline. And so it wasn't until September of 2020, 9 months after I started the business, that I actually had my second client. I don't think it would take that long under normal circumstances. 2020 was not normal circumstances, as we know, right? But in that 9 months, I was able to learn a lot, really think a lot about how I want to position the business. We had a lot more time on our hands because we weren't out and, doing things out in, going to restaurants and some of the other things that we would typically do. So I had more time to really think, okay, how do I make sure that my business stands out? What should I communicate? And so thankfully in that 9 month period and up until now, there are things that I do to make sure that my business stands out. So I went through all of that, but I do want to make sure we, level set and make sure we're all clear about what thought leadership is. Okay. Thought leadership is the expression of ideas that demonstrate that you have expertise in a particular field, area, or topic. And that's a definition that I found on Western Governors University's website, right? And I actually, as I said, use thought leadership and still use it to differentiate my business. As I said, I launched in 2020. 2020 was a hard year, right? But people were online more than ever. So what does that mean? That means if I'm sharing information because more people are online, it's more likely that they're actually going to see what I'm sharing, right? So I use that time, as I mentioned, to start sharing my expertise. And quite frankly, I knew I had to demonstrate my expertise because I'm a government grant consultant. What does that mean? That means that, for those of you who aren't aware, that means when a large organization or a small organization or a university or a startup, right? And I'm speaking primarily of, startups in the technology space. Whenever they receive, a 10, 20, $30 million grant from a government agency, and most of our work is with federal agencies. In some instances, they may not have the in-house capacity, right, to manage that government grant, because getting the money is one thing. I would say getting the grant is the first step, right? Actually managing the grant, if it's a 2, 3, 4 year grant, you need to make sure you manage it. You need to comply with regulations. You need to make sure all the costs charged to the grant are there's a whole bunch of, I can go down this path. I'm not going to do that to y'all, but so just want to make sure you're clear that managing a grant means that, a government grant means that you need to make sure that you're following all the regs, that you're spending the money as you should. Your audits, now you also have to have higher level audits. And so you need to be audit ready so that your audit report doesn't, have, any findings and negative things in it which will of course put your company on blast that certain things weren't being done properly. So in order to really make sure that I was able to demonstrate my expertise as a government grant, right, I had to be intentional. And at first, I was sharing information. I write a lot. I have written in all of the businesses that I have. I write blogs. So if you go to the grantsworks.com website, you see there's a number of blogs that I wrote. These aren't blogs that I've written using AI, by the way. These are long form, sit down, think about it, create an outline, and then write the copy, and then edit the copy, and then edit again, and then edit again, and then publish it. And then read it after I publish it to make sure there's no mistakes that I missed, and then go back in and tweak it just in case there is a mistake that a mistake that I missed. So I've done this for grantsworks.com. All of the blogs on that website were written by me. I've written blogs for Ready, Set, Go Consult. All of that is written by me, long form, no AI support. So I've always written, and that's what I started. One of the things I started doing when I first launched my business. But then as I was writing, and I started to notice certain things, I realized there is something that I'm really passionate about. There's a particular position that I have as it relates to government grants management that I don't see a lot of information about. But this is important because this thing is key to being able to manage that 20, 30, $40 million grant. You have agencies, primarily government agencies, that are getting grants over $100 million, right? And even government agencies, you will be surprised, their staff do not have the knowledge about some of them may not have the knowledge, right? Their staff may not have the knowledge about how to manage that grant. And that's why sometimes you hear that so-and-so mayor of such small city was arrested because he siphoned off some of the grant money, or he allegedly siphoned off some of the grant money for whatever, some personal thing. Or you hear about some university administrator siphoning off hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate his or her home. These things happen. And those things happen because, like I said, a lot of times they don't have that in-house expertise or oversight to make sure that those monies are tracked properly. Again, I got to redirect and talk about, because you see, I'm passionate about not necessarily government grants, but making sure that they're managed right. So bottom line is, my unique perspective is, if you're going to get a 10, 20, $30 million grant, your team needs to be trained. So you've got people getting 10 organizations getting 10, 20, $30 million grants. They've never had a federal grant. They never had a state government grant. They never had a city government grant, and they don't have any training, and it's not required. Some organizations, some agencies, some federal agencies require training. My position is, in the years that I've worked in government grants, some of my employers made sure I got the training, right? Because they understood that if I'm gonna have you, Patrice, as that person that's gonna be dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, analyzing these regs, and then all the things that you do in your role, then you need to get that training. But that's not happening in every organization that's getting grants. And my position is the federal government should be requiring training. I'm gonna go ahead and say it right on video. I've said it in different ways, in nicer, more diplomatic ways. My position is federal, it should be required. And again, some agencies, I've seen some agencies that require at least some kind of training. You got to document that you got the training, all of that. So that's my unique perspective. And I shared that perspective quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I launched GrantsWorks Academy, which is an online source of on-demand training, right? So a lot of the training that I've offered is available there for the general public to actually access my training, and I've been able to get a lot of business as a result of that. And we can talk about the benefits of making a move like that, but we're going to talk today about thought leadership. So I'm going to double check and see if there are any questions. So far, no questions. You can drop any questions if you have any. I'll be more than happy to answer them. But I'm going to go right back now to talk about, what thought leadership has done for my business. So again, not only should they get training, I believe that training should be what I call recipient centered, right? So in my perspective is that a lot of the training that is developed by federal agencies a lot of times isn't recipient centered. It's not developed to make sure that the recipient of that 10, 20, 30, $40 million grant knows how to manage it. I've seen training where the agencies teach people how to upload a report, or it's very surface level, or it could be all about a certain area, right? So it's not really helping them understand everything, not everything, but help them have that deep understanding first of the responsibility that comes with all of this money and what you're supposed to be doing with all of this money, right? It's all about accountability. They won't know or expect accountability if they don't even understand what comes with that responsibility. So that's my approach, right? And that's my belief. And I have become known as a person who not only writes about federal grants, and not a lot of people do, right? I talk quite a bit about, my approach to training. And as a matter of fact, one of the things I do want to talk about is in 2020, when I was sharing information, right? Those 9 months when we had all this quiet time, and before I actually had my first real client, because the client I had in May 2020 was a very short engagement. She reached out, said, "Hey, I need you to help me with this USDA grant." She was in, bottom line is helped her with that grant, helped her understand a few things. My delivery, terrible. The way I engage with the client, when I say delivery, meaning my service was great, right? What I provided, the clarity I provided was great. But there's a certain way that I now engage with clients when they first come on board, right? To help them kind of come into the fold. And I think that's a very important part of the beginning of that relationship. But I was just so happy to get paid, and I charged her so little money, right? And when I first got my first client. So, but over time, you get better. So that's one thing I do want to make sure you're aware of. Over time, you will get better unless, right, you participate in my Ready, Set, Go Consult membership, where I actually go through some of the things that as consultants we may not think about. We may think, okay, we have this knowledge and I want to share this knowledge and share this expertise to this target market, but we're not really thinking, okay, well, how do we engage with them before they come on? How do we engage with them after they come on? How do we engage with them? After the engagement ends, right? All of that is important. And not only, and that's just when you're engaging with client. There's some other things around how you communicate. There are, what's in your proposal. What are the different types of consulting businesses? What are some of the things you can do with your knowledge? All of those things are laid out in the Ready, Set, Go Consult membership. And you can find out more at readysetgoconsult.com. Now, as I said before, I started to become known, and there are still certain things that I do to make sure that our company stands out. And the benefits of that is that over time, you will start to attract different types of opportunities. Yes, clients, you definitely want clients, but there are different types of opportunities. So I've been able to have speaking engagements. My first set of speaking engagements I had in 2022, 2023, yeah, in 2022. And again, this is just 2 years after opening the business. I was paid 5 figures to actually, deliver a speaking engagement. It was actually, I'll call it, let's say, a training to a conference. It's a company that organization has a national conference, an annual conference, national and annual conference. And so I went and was able to deliver content on 3 different areas, right? I also had another one in 2020, not as high, but still very, very valuable. One of the things that I'm learning from other people who do this is that, not all, but speaking engagements are, when they come your way, think about not just about how much you are getting paid, but some of the other benefits, right? So I just want to make sure we talk about that. But as a result of positioning my company and being bold, even when I feel scared, right? Even when I feel scared, I have to be bold because that's the only way to get the business to stand out. And that's why I started off the video by saying, don't hide behind your website, don't hide behind your social media accounts, because that's not going to help you stand out, right? So one of the first things to do is to put yourself out there. One of the second things to do is figure out what is your unique approach or perspective about your industry. If you have one, maybe you don't, right? But you are a unique person. Your experiences are unique. Get your interactions with other people, with clients, with prospective clients. Those are all unique to you and you as a person. So over time, you will probably notice certain trends in your work with folks, and just again, based on your unique your uniqueness, that hey, there's another way to do this, or there's a problem here that nobody's talking about, and I want to be the one to talk about it because I've seen it happen too many times. And that's the reason why this industry, people in this industry, or businesses in this industry, or nonprofits in this space, keep making the same mistakes. Okay, so, and then got to be the one to raise your hand and put yourself out there. And again, first, you got to deal with any fear. Maybe you don't have any fear, but first you have to deal with any fear. Really give yourself some time to really make sure that idea or that perspective gels, because you don't want to. And that's why I mentioned, hey, if you're an IT consultant, that's why I use the example of the IT consultant that not only has that person identified the solution, they identified it for several people, and that solution is sustainable, right? It has legs. It can grow. So just wanted to make sure that we, just want to make sure that I really emphasize the importance of it being not just an idea, but something that you've kind of had some time to sit with. You've had it, saute in your mind, and it's gelled, and now it becomes your unique approach. So just want to make sure, and there's a certain, once you have that unique approach, there's some things that we also teach in the membership about, now that you have this unique approach, okay, what do you do with it, right? So just want to make sure that we talk a little bit about that. I'm going to check and see if any questions. Okay. Would you recommend peer networking, working on a team, or can all of this work be done alone if I'm just starting out as a consultant? I would recommend peer net peer net. I would definitely, you know why I would do it initially as if you're just starting out by yourself, because I think that as a consultant, well, there are a couple of things, and I don't know if this is the right answer, but it's the answer that comes to mind. I think that there is a benefit of being by yourself to have solutions, thoughts, or ideas that are all your own, right? So we know that there's nothing like sitting by yourself and coming to conclusions about things in your personal life or come to conclusions about things in your professional life. And as a new consultant, sitting alone and thinking about the way that some of the things that you may learn as a consultant, there's nothing like that because again, it's you coming to conclusions about things that you're experiencing. One of the reasons why I also recommend that is because as it relates to thought leadership, you're not just thinking about how to position your company now, you're thinking into the future. What kind of intellectual property can you claim because it's your idea, right? Or what intellectual property do you have and claim, right? Because it's your idea alone. So I'm hoping that answers the question. But yeah, so let me know if that answers the question or if it doesn't answer the question, or if you want me to clarify that. But those are just some of the things that came to mind because you're not thinking about today. I want you to build your companies for 5, 10 years from now. Maybe you don't plan on having your consulting business for 10 years, but you definitely want to you want to build. And that's one of the things we teach in the membership. Build your business, not for just today, but think about what you're trying to accomplish in 5 years, in 10 years. And what are the things you can put in place now? What are some of the ideas, right? That was exactly. Yeah, I'm glad because I was wondering, am I going down the road? But nope, it's all about you, your thoughts, and your conclusions, and then what you can, you're not sharing the ideas just to position your company. You're sharing the ideas because you can then do something with those ideas, and that's why. And I'm those are the things that I want to make sure that consultants are thinking about. And again, those are some of the things that we share in the membership. So I do want to make sure that that was a really, really good question. So and I'm going to kind of close this out because I'm hoping that I was able to communicate this as clearly as I could. But I do want to make sure that you want to think through how to position your company, differentiate your company, differentiate yourself, and 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 then know that that is one of the things that you can do to eventually also attract clients and attract other business opportunities. Now, how you go about doing this, again, we'll be more than happy to share more. I'll be share more in videos to come. But a lot of this again is you can even go to the Ready Set Go Consult website and read our blogs. Go to read our blogs. We already have some of this information that's out there. It may not be as detailed as we provided within the membership, but it's there, right? So just go to the blog, check that out. And if you want to reach out to me, you can do that at hello@readysetgoconsult.com. If you have any questions about how I built my consulting business, what are some things to consider now that maybe you are, thinking about dipping your toe into becoming a consultant, or you already have a consulting business. Interestingly, the people that are typically in the Ready, Set, Go Consult Accelerator, we have an 8-week accelerator that's a part of the membership. We're actual consultants. So they're not necessarily people considering it. These are folks that actually had consulting businesses and they were just trying to figure out how to position themselves. Maybe they've only had one client and that client's, paid them, a certain amount and they've been satisfied with that. But now they really want to ramp it up. They want to go beyond that one client or 2 clients or 3 clients. They're not sure how to go about doing that because they have been so used to only providing services for these 3 clients and getting whatever revenue comes from that. And in order to really grow your revenue, you're going to have to increase your client base, right? Now, there's some things that you need to think about as you increase your client base, because that also means you now need to devote more time to the business, right? Because you're new in the space, and so you're still working on and in your business. You're the one responsible for the deliverables, and so you're probably thinking, well, how am I deliver thought lead, become a thought leader while my business is growing, while I'm serving clients. And this is a part of entrepreneurship that many people probably don't talk too much about. Yes, it will be hard initially, but one of the things we also talk about is making sure you get the support that you need. And again, the type of support, the timing of support, and is also something to consider. And again, these are some of the things that you can learn over time, right? Or you can perhaps check out what we already have on our blog, or you can watch one or two of the free resources that we have on our website. We have an ebook about how I launched my business, and of course we have a masterclass. So I'm hoping that this is helpful. And Kenya, I'm so glad I was able to answer those questions for you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And for those of you who are watching this after the live, like I said, reach out to me at hello@readysetgoconsult.com. Go to the website, readysetgoconsult.com. Download our free ebook. Watch the free masterclass. Lots of no-cost resources. Check out the blog, right? And listen to our podcast, the Age Has No Limit podcast. Lots of good information out there. So just know that I've been putting this information out there, and you guys can, get what you can, get whatever value you can from it. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Kenya. I appreciate it. And I had fun, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.